Hey guys, this video will contain spoilers for the end of Arc 5 and for the start of Arc 6, so do keep that in mind. As stated before, this will be a continuation of Arc 5 Interlude 1, which was an interlude which was not translated. And as stated, there are 3 interludes that I'm going to be covering, and this one is the second one, so please enjoy the video. The chapter starts with Garfiel and the group looking at the options of food on the menu provided in the dining hall, noticing that there's a large selection of food to choose from. Luckily, even though the witch cult attacked the city of Prestella, the damage was limited to a few sections. Of course there was a loss of life, but most of the damage was mitigated. As food was brought to Wilhelm, Garfiel looked at him and thought to himself. After all, Garfiel and Wilhelm hardly had any interactions together. However, Wilhelm was pivotal in his role to repel the witch cult attack. During this, Mimi was talking about how good the food was and the fact that the food was free. Proper etiquette when eating is to use a knife and fork. This is something Garfiel struggles with due to living his life in the sanctuary. When he was in the sanctuary, this was something he did not need to bother with. However, now that he's outside of it, it's something that brings him deep shame and is something that he wants to improve on. Luckily though, Frederica is helping him out, and Wilhelm states that with practice he'll be able to improve. Garfiel thinks about the other members of the Emilia camp. Otto is from a merchant family, so it's expected that he should be refined when it comes to eating. The Roswell manor, such as Roswell, Rem, and Emilia, are of high standing, so it's natural that they are refined. However, Subaru's past is a mystery, so Garfiel just chalks Subaru's ability to use cutlery as one of his random hidden talents. They also talk about the difficulty it takes to eat with chopsticks, noting that it's a common thing to use in kairaragi, and Subaru of course is proficient at using them, which is interesting. Garfiel thinks about Wilhelm's journey, the loss of his wife to the White Well, and the fact that Wilhelm would investigate the White Well and eventually go on to kill it, avenging his wife, and the fact that now, in Arc 5, he met his wife again and they crossed swords. Wilhelm knew that Garfiel wasn't really here to talk about chopsticks and how to dine properly, and said to Garfiel to let him know if he has any questions, and he will answer to the best of his ability. The question Garfiel wanted to ask was about Kurgan, the fact that Garfiel was able to beat in a fight a legendary warrior, and Garfiel was uncomfortable about winning. Was he really that strong? Luckily, when Wilhelm was younger, he actually did fight against Kurgan, so he came to Wilhelm to get Wilhelm's opinion on Kurgan's strength. Unfortunately, due to the fact that Wilhelm was far away, he couldn't really get a true sense of Kurgan's battle strength. However, Wilhelm does state that the people they fought were both Kurgan and Teresia, and at the same time, they were also not Kurgan and Teresia. When they were fighting against puppets, but at the moment of their death, their true personalities came out. Garfiel was going to mention the final word Kurgan said to him, but Wilhelm stated it's best that you keep it to yourself. After all, Kurgan directed those words at the warrior who beat him, and not Wilhelm. Garfiel was confused. What did Wilhelm mean by his roundabout answers about the puppet being Kurgan, and at the same time it wasn't Kurgan? Garfiel pressed Wilhelm for clarification, but was stopped by Mimi. Garfiel apologized for his actions, realizing Wilhelm was being vague for Garfiel's sake. However, Wilhelm told Garfiel it's okay and that he shouldn't apologize. After all, when Wilhelm was younger, he also used to act the same way. Wilhelm stated that what he said was the truth. Only upon death did the true personalities awaken. That means that when Garfiel was fighting Kurgan, he was fighting an inferior version of Kurgan that couldn't use the full extent of his powers. Wilhelm goes on to explain that if he was fighting against his wife in her prime, at his old age he would have been killed nearly instantly, and therefore the same degradation can be applied to Garfiel and Kurgan's fight, meaning that if it was a true Kurgan, he would have died. As Garfiel was getting depressed about this though, Wilhelm let off a terrifying aura, causing Garfiel to jump backwards. Mimi didn't move because she could tell Wilhelm was not hostile at all. Wilhelm stated that Garfiel was a diamond in the rough and his potential was very high, and not to get hung up on it. As Wilhelm departed, he stated that with Mimi by his side, Garfiel won't ever go off the beaten path and he will always be recorrected to make the right decisions. With his resolve strengthened, Garfiel realized he had one more person to go speak to, and that was his family. Mimi decided that she would come along because they're in it together. And that is the end of the chapter. Thank you for watching. This is the conclusion of Interlude 2, and we have one more interlude remaining, so look forward to that.